Thought Saturday night was a very good opener. We want to thank the fans. They came and they were loud and they stayed. Thought our team played really, really hard. We played lots of players. We were able to play 39 players on offense and defense in the first half. And that's something we haven't been able to do the last couple of years. And that helped us continue to play hard in the 98-degree heat. And it also helped us stay healthy. So we came out pretty healthy. A few guys banged up. And it was good that we had adversity. And we didn't play well offensively with the 3 turnovers in the first half and came back and overcame it, David included, as we were going. So offensively, disappointed in the slow start. Can't have 3 turnovers in a game, much less the first half, and we also had a 4th and 2 that we didn't make. So in essence, that's 4 turnovers in the first half, and it'll keep you from scoring. We only had 29 plays in the first half as compared to their 47. And we were wanting a fast start. We actually had 27 plays in our last scrimmage in the first quarter. So to have 29 and a half was not good, but we were either turning the ball over or scoring fast. And that kept the defense out on the field too long. But we ended up with 72 plays, which was less than what we want. We'd rather be in the 80s. And the second half, we got what we needed. It's just the first half we did not. Very balanced at 359 rushing and 356 passing. Very proud of David making plays with his feet. That's something that we've challenged him to do and thought he looked for the run more quickly the other night and did a good job with it, especially on the long run. But he made some first downs with his feet on 3rd down and 4 and 5, and he also took some first down plays and made 5 or 6 yards with them. And proud of the guys that they broke a school record of 715 yards. Really good with the explosive plays. We had 13. That was 7 runs and 6 passes. And the credit for that, in my estimation, goes to the downfield blocking. We had really, really good downfield blocking, and that's why you get plays like DeJay's sweep for a touchdown with Jonathan Gray upending a guy on the corner and Mike Davis doing a good job blocking, or Jackson Shipley blocking for David Ash, or John Harris blocking on Malcolm's play. So a lot of guys downfield doing a good job to get the explosive plays. Defensively, we had a good start. There were 4 sudden change situations coming up early in the ball game. 3 of them we were successful, and we had a 4th down stop. So all of those were good. On the touchdown pass, we did have a communication issue in our back end, which we can't have. But we forced 3 turnovers ourselves and had the 4th down stop, like we said, and did a good job of stopping New Mexico State after we turned the ball over. Had great effort. We tackled better, still missed a few tackles in space, but it was much improved from the opening game last year. Thought the coaches made some really good adjustments against their offense. We were looking for the Wyoming offense because the offensive coordinator for New Mexico State, Greg Brannon, came from Wyoming, and he went back to the old Bowling Green offense with the tight end and 2 tight ends and more options and boots and neckeds, and our coaches did a good job of adjusting during the second quarter. Extra point and field goal was 100%. Thought Anthony Farah did a good job. He also had a 68-yard punt that was downed at the 1 by Bryson Eccles. I was disappointed that we let him get off the goal line, because when you get somebody down at the 1, you've got to turn it into points, and we didn't do that defensively. Kickoff return, we only had 2 opportunities. One was an onside kick that we got to start the second half when they tried to come out and fool us and steal a possession. And also Dalton Santos running the pooch kick back to the 43-yard line. I thought we did an excellent job of using our timeouts before the half, scoring right before the half, and coming back out and scoring to start the third quarter. And that's a formula that we always try to live by to give us, after a 3-and-out to start the game, give us an extra possession for the touchdown to start the second half. Kickoff coverage I thought was average. We kicked it pretty well, but we missed some tackles and need to do a better job in that area. Punt block, we were really close but didn't get it done, and we didn't get anything out of our return. So overall, there's a lot we can improve in our kicking game. BYU's coached by Bronco Mendenhall, who's a friend of mine. He's on the AFC board with me, and we've known each other for quite a while. He's a great head coach. He's also their defensive coordinator. He was an outstanding player and a tough player, junior college All-American and 2-year starter at Oregon State. His dad was a coach, and he does a tremendous job. Rob Anaya is the offensive coordinator who's been with Mike Leach. He's been at Arizona for a while. He was the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago at Brigham Young, and they're doing the up-tempo offense as well. So they had nearly 100 plays Saturday against Virginia. So it should be a game that's an exciting game with both offenses moving the ball or moving the ball at a really quick pace. The Desmond Harrison issue with Brigham Young was not one between Texas and Brigham Young. It was between Contra Costa Junior College and Brigham Young. It was never mentioned between the two athletic departments, so it is a dead issue moving forward. In fact, Bronco and I never even talked about it. They're tough at home. They've won 88.9% of their home games in the last 7 years. They're 40-5. They've got great atmosphere, so that should be fun for our guys. The team that played Virginia Saturday night is not the one we'll see. They had a 2-hour, 9-minute lightning delay, and then it just was an absolute downpour the second half. And Virginia was able to block a punt and do some things that it's very difficult to play, and sometimes the best team doesn't win under those circumstances, because you can tell on the video copy watching the video last night that it's raining sideways. So it was miserable conditions for them. But they are going to play tough defense, and they'll be a very physical, up-tempo offense as well. They have 14 starters returning. They've got 24 seniors. Their defense was ranked in the top 10 in all categories last year. Number 3, Kyle Vanoy, is everybody's All-American. He's a great player, one of those dominant players that when you go into the ball game, you better find him. Fallsliv is one of the better punt returners in the country, number 12. He's also a wide receiver. They didn't play with their best wide receiver on Saturday because he pulled a hamstring last Wednesday, so we're not sure if we will see him or not. But the competition will pick up a lot this week, and it'll be a fun challenge for us. We've got 2 really good out-of-conference games coming up here with Brigham Young and Ole Miss leading into the conference schedule with Kansas State. The guys did vote on whether to keep the numbers above the Longhorn steer or not, and they were above 90% that they liked it and wanted to keep it there for the rest of the year. So that's on them. Questions?
How much better will this defense be, you guys see, and what jumps out at you that you'll have to do to move the ball?
It'll be a whole lot better. New Mexico State, I thought, did a good job coaching, but they didn't have depth, and they wore out in the second half. And Brigham Young's got depth. They've got really good players. They pride themselves on being a tough team, and I'm challenging our team because I think Brigham Young is as tough as anybody in the country, and they try as hard as anybody in the country. And Saturday night leaving there, I want us to have been as tough and to have tried as hard as they do.
Your coach's name is Bronco, don't you have to be tough?
I think you have to. Bronco's tough himself.
When you were breaking down tape of New Mexico State, how much you were talking about all the good blocking, all that. Is it hard as a coach to figure out, how much was this us executing well, and how much was it a lesser opponent?
Yes, it is hard to tell, but it really doesn't matter. Whoever's over there doesn't matter. You can only do what you can do, and we dominated the opening opponent, and that's what we should have done. You go back and look, there were 7 FCS teams that beat FBS teams this weekend. So a lot of good players out there, and you can't take any game for granted, and ours sure didn't start well. But I was proud of our guys that they got their composure, they kept working and turned it around and did what they should have done in the opening ball game. We beat New Mexico State a few years ago 66-7 and didn't play very well. It was just big plays. They messed up more than that. This bunch didn't mess up very much. They took care of the ball. They were conservative. They ran boots and nakeds. They were hard to sack. Did a good job in their kicking game, so give them credit for doing a good job hanging in there as long as they could.
Mack, what did you take away from the offense scoring 5 touchdowns in 15 plays? What did you take away from that defensively, the way that, back on the field, back on the field, back on the field?
Yes, the good and bad of tempo offense is if you don't make first downs or you get turnovers, your defense is out there 47 plays the first half, and it's not good. That's what we challenged our offense to do. On the other side is we've got more speed than we've had in a long time, so we can score real fast. And that can be, it's a positive for the offense, but that's why we have to be too deep on defense. We knew that coming in. It was evident Saturday night. If we'd had 47 plays with 11 players playing defense, we would have probably been exhausted in that heat at halftime, and we weren't. Nobody was really spent. we're in good shape, and I didn't see that much difference in who was on the field. In our past couple of years, it's been evident when we put young guys out there that there's just been gashes, and it was not that way Saturday night, even at the end of the ball game. I thought everybody we put out there tried 100%. In fact, I thought the effort at the end of the game was like the effort at the beginning of the game, but we've got more good players too deep than we've had.
How positive is that going into a game where you're going to play another up-tempo offense and it's something that you haven't had the last couple of years?
I think in this league it's critical, and we're all learning because we're going to play it about every week. And I did think that the fact that we were up-tempo offense really helped our defense last night with substitution. We were much more organized. We got guys in and out of the game even when there wasn't a timeout. The officials did a better job with it. So I think everybody is more prepared for tempo this year than we were this time last year.
Coach, you mentioned the FCS upset 7. Do you think that the level of play has gotten much closer, or how does a coach protect against his FBS team maybe playing down one level the rest of the competition?
It's a very difficult thing, John, because there are a lot of good players at FCS. Some transferred, some might be there for different reasons. But I watched the quarterback from Eastern Washington on some video shots last night, and he looked great. He didn't miss. So you can catch a great player. The North Dakota State teams won 2 national championships. They're confident. And when you start looking at the level of play, there's some really good teams at that level. Usually the difference is over time in the season and the schedule you play without depth, it just beats you down. But early ball games, when you're not really sure what someone's going to do, and it's usually a factor of turnovers, kicking game issues, you can usually lose more games early than are won. And I think that's what happens against some of these teams. But I remember upsets every year, like we all do, and that's what everybody talks about. I never remember this many upsets to start a season. So obviously it's closer in the early going than we would think with personnel.
What are some of the challenges that come with a road game, and would you rather have a road game a little later on in the season than the second week?
This is a perfect time for us to go on the road, really good environment, go into altitude, and have to fight against a really good team, because we've got that. Then we'll come back for just the opposite, a home game with 101,000 against Ole Miss, and that should be really good preparation for us going into our conference schedule with Kansas State. So we really get the tough road trip, which we need. We really get the tough home SEC game, which we need, and that should prepare us to start with Kansas State. Excuse me.
How does the addition of Time Warner Cable to the Longhorn Network impact your recruiting?
Anytime we can add more viewers to the Longhorn Network, it really, really helps us. So I thought that was a big hit on Friday night at 6 when I got the call to say we had it, and I was able to tell the players, and I'm sure it'll just continue to grow now. It's really good. So when people see it, more people are going to want it, and the more people that see it are going to tell other people, and I think it'll just continue to grow.
Mack, is the need for depth, like you're talking about, is that kind of magnified this week when you go to altitude with both teams playing tempo offense?
It is magnitude. It is magnified when you start looking at the heat Saturday night. It was. We walked in here at 4:45, and I mean it was so hot on that turf, and then I think by game time it was like 97 or 98. But I thought the guys handled it really, really well, and they weren't just spent in the dressing room. But the magnitude of going into an environment on the road with altitude, when we usually handled it well at Boulder, we didn't handle it as well at Wyoming a couple of years ago. It really got to us. But we've been talking about this for a year with our players, and actually Provo is not as high as Boulder, and sure not as high as the 7,100 feet up at Wyoming. So I think we're ready for it, and depth should help us. We've just got to, as coaches, they did a good job the other night of doing what they said they were going to do. And a lot of times coaches can say that on Thursday, and by Saturday night they're not willing to put the guy in that hasn't played as much. And Saturday night I was really proud of our coaches. They promised the guys, if you practice hard and you do well, we're going to put you in the game, and they did that. And what we told each one of them is, if you play well, we'll do it again next week. If you don't, we're going to pull you out. We can't play you, but it's on you. It's not on us. And they all played well enough to take it another week, so they'll need to do the same thing this week in Provo.
Not going to get Kendall Sanders back this week. What kind of impact did he have?
Yes, Kendall should be back tomorrow. He was out at practice yesterday. He ran some, but Sunday's practice is basically correct and review from the game. So we didn't do anything with him. So hopefully he'll be back to full speed Tuesday. And he was one of the better receivers on our football team before he hurt his ankle. So hopefully he'll be ready to go. And Josh Turner will be ready to go this week as well.
What have you seen early on from their quarterback Hill and then the big back Wilson carried it a bunch of
Wilson carried it 33 times, and he's a big, strong, over 200-pound guy that can make things happen. So he's a real force, and they're a physical running team. And the quarterback is very athletic. He can run the option. They're running a lot of option. He can sprint. He can boot. He can naked, and he's a tough guy. So both of those guys are a factor, and they do need their wide receiver back, Hoffman, who was their leading receiver. They've got Oppo. They've got number 12 we just talked about is a great punt returner. So they've got some good players on offense. And they did have a punt blocked in the rain the other night. It was raining so hard you couldn't even see. And then it was hard. The numbers didn't look great for either offense on Saturday night. But if you go back and watch the video, it was impossible to move the ball in that rain after half. And I can't imagine sitting there for 2 hours and 9 minutes waiting and then going back out to play for both teams. It had to be and then you get back out there and it's pouring the rain where you can't see. So it was very, very difficult circumstances for both.
What do you say to a young guy like Deshae going into this week after coming off what he did?
Deshae did a good job. What we tell him is that he needs to win this week like he did last week and be consistent, be consistently good. You've got the ability. You had a great game. Now let's see you do it against better competition on the road 2 weeks in a row.
How different is it night and day, the anxiety level of taking a seasoned team on the road for the first time as opposed to last couple of years when they're younger?
It's so much better. I always enjoy the road. The adversity is tougher. You've got a crowd against you. Everybody's pulling against you. And I just think it pulls your team together more when you're traveling. And this team is experienced. We played 2 freshmen the other night. We've been playing 13 and 18 freshmen the last couple of years. So that's one reason I thought they didn't even blink on the sideline early in the game when things weren't going well. They said, we're going to be fine. Just take care of the ball. And last year, 2 years ago, it would have been very much different. So understanding the competition's better, understanding they play great defense on the road. The challenge to our team is I want us to be as tough and play as hard as they do because they do that as well as anybody in the country. So we'll know more about our team Saturday night.
You get a better sense of leadership on the road, especially that first trip from your guys.
You do, and we've got really good leaders at each position now, and they will be responsible for the younger guys in their group, making sure they act right, making sure they're on time, making sure they dress right. There's so many different things when you travel. But we took all of our freshmen that had practiced to the hotel the other night so they would get used to traveling a little bit, whether they were going to play or not. And we'll take fewer guys to Provo.
We've kind of done it again. We've gone almost an entire press conference without asking about David. How good was he Saturday night? You kind of got to go back and look at what he did.
David was great. The fact that we had the fumble early, which you can't have, it was poor ball security. You got to tuck the ball away better. But then David came back and they changed coverages on him and got an interception going into the end zone, which was critical at that time that we needed to score. And then coming back and a guy batting the ball and going up in the air. And one of the things Major has really helped David with is good play, bad play, move on. Forget it. I mean, it's done. You can't do anything about it but learn from it. And I thought David did a tremendous job of that Saturday night. He was as good as I've ever seen at making a great play and thinking he should, and making a bad play and learning from it and moving forward. But he didn't dwell on either one, and he's really grown up. I thought that and his ability to run, he was so accurate. Other than that, he really did a good job. So that game should really help him because it's the first game he's had with Major. Really, when Major has prepared him through spring and all of preseason camp, it was a very difficult situation in the Alamo Bowl that he had him for 10 days, and not even the offense that he and Darryl were preparing for. So we got to be smart. There's a lot of speed on this offense. There's a lot of playmakers on this offense, and Major and Darryl have to figure out how to get it to the right guys at the right time and make sure they distribute it well. But I thought they did a good job of that Saturday night.
How was it for you having Major on the sidelines, having your OC right there on the sidelines with you?
It was fine. I used to do it as a head coach when I was calling plays, and a lot of people do it. You know, it's not that big a deal if you go look around the country. But I did think that I thought he did a good job from the sideline Saturday night. I thought he was comfortable from the sideline Saturday night. You all can ask him today. I really didn't ask him. But it's easier for me when I can walk down and say something to him than trying to connect over the phone, which everybody's talking. And I thought that probably the biggest thing was his ability, good and bad, to walk over and talk to David walking off the field so he could get him, because sometimes that phone's a disconnect. And when you look in your eyes and see that the exact feeling of a guy, it gives you a better opportunity to coach him and teach him from the sideline. So I thought it worked really well Saturday.
Your non-conference games could have been a couple of New Mexico States in a row. So what is it having this progression kind of in strength of the teams you guys are facing non-conference early on? How does that help you guys?
I think it's really good that we're challenged by two really good football teams the next 2 weeks, and both of these teams are as good as we are, so we've just got to play good, and our guys know that. They can look at New Mexico State, who's just starting out with a new coach, and I thought those guys did a great job. They fought, hung in there as long as they could, so those coaches did a tremendous job Saturday night. But this is an experienced staff. It's got an older football team with 24 seniors and 14 starters back from a team that won 8 games last year, and they play really well at home. And they're not happy, I'm sure, with what happened on Saturday night. So they'll be really motivated. So this will be fun for us. And Ole Miss has got a good football team, and they'll win this week and come in 2-0 for next week's game as well. So this is great for us to be challenged.
Anything else?
We can't start this week like we started last week. That's for sure. We wouldn't turn out as well.
Did you call Vince and tell him to hang in there, coach, and call Fozzie and congratulate him?
Yeah, Fozzie, I'm so happy for Fozzie. A guy overcame so many injuries here and kept fighting and kept being positive, and I'll never forget that knee at Missouri. Is just an awful thing for him to start the game like he did and stay on the field and be positive and try to help his teammates. So he deserves everything good. Fozzie Whitaker's a great young man, and I think the way that Vince played at Green Bay should help him get picked up by somebody else, because he really made some good plays and made an impact there. It just didn't work in their numbers for whatever, but Vince will be fine. I think it's enough people know that he's done everything right. He's ready to go. He's ready to be a great team guy, so I expect him to get picked up soon.